Welcome to the Redemptive Economics Podcast, where we are empowering Christian entrepreneurs to make a redemptive economic impact here in Pittsburgh and beyond.
Let's get to work!
Hey, welcome to the show. I am your host, Mhatch, and man, I am grateful to be with you today, and grateful to be going over what I think is going to be and is currently one of the biggest things to happen to Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania, and that is Grove City receiving this donation of Bitcoin. And I'll get more into detail about that. But let me first also thank all of you who are ministry partners and for your financial support. Thank you for helping to keep this going. I really appreciate you coming shoulder to shoulder with us in this mission to empower Christian entrepreneurs to make a redemptive economic impact here in Pittsburgh and beyond. So thank you for that. If you haven't yet left a review or given us a 5-star review, we'd be so grateful if you did that, if you find this to be valuable. If not, obviously hold off and wait until you receive that value. So, all right, so moving on, I got the opportunity a couple weeks ago to attend the Grove City College Winklevoss Business School dedication. And first of all, thank you to the administration and the alumni who invited me to attend. I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to be there for, again, what I consider to be a monumental and historical time and an event. So this is when Grove City College received the $4 million donation of Bitcoin from Howard Winklevoss. They decided as a thank you to name the business school after Howard. And I'll share a little bit more about what he shared at this event, which I'm sure will help you understand more why they named the school after him. Of course, the Winklevoss twins were there as well, Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, who are probably more well-known recently than Howard as the co-founders of Facebook, early adopters of Bitcoin. I think they invested in Bitcoin in 2012. They also invest in all sorts of other technology companies and businesses. They are entrepreneurs and, of course, world-renowned. But their father really blazed a trail for them. And we got to hear that story at this dedication ceremony. So let me share a little bit about what I'm going to share a little bit about the dedication, what that was like, how I see Grove City responding to this donation. I'm going to give some context around Bitcoin because right now a lot of big things are happening in the Bitcoin space. We've entered into a Bitcoin bull market. I want to talk about 5 different aspects of Bitcoin that I find to be characteristic of its redemptive value. And then lastly, I'm going to offer some thoughts on how I believe, humble me, who's not a whole lot of anybody really, but for you as listeners and maybe someone who's from Grove City is listening and they can add some of my thoughts to their already ongoing pursuit of how to respond to this Bitcoin donation there. But I've got thoughts on how I believe Bitcoin and Grove City College make a beautiful, beautiful marriage. So first of all, the dedication itself, what an incredible experience. And Howard Winklevoss is really funny guy, amazing guy. He was very well known, very famous, very accomplished in the actuarial sciences industry, which has to do with, often actuaries work in insurance, where they develop kind of probabilities for how likely an event, especially a tragic event of some sort, might happen in order to determine how much to charge for insurance, whether it be life insurance or car insurance or whatever. But it's also used in the investing world, in the hedge fund world, also with mutual funds as well. He wrote 20 different books, was, of course, graduated from Grove City College, and then he was an adjunct professor at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He's also the founder of Winklevoss Consultants and Winklevoss Technologies. So this guy is no joke in and of his own right. He is very successful and very wealthy. And so in around 2012, he said his sons, Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, told him about Bitcoin. And he said he learned about it then, but it was the foundation of the education that he got at Grove City College that he attributes to him being able to recognize the value of Bitcoin and to become an early investor and, of course, reap a lot of reward as a result of that financially. Seneca Hills Bible Camp and Retreat Center is a hidden gem located just north of Pittsburgh in Venango County. Personally, when I attended their men's weekend, I was blown away by the beauty of the surroundings, the quality of the facilities, and the superiority of the cuisine. This is not your typical camp food, folks. Seneca Hills hosts year-round retreats and conferences, but their true passion is summer camp, where campers, both kids and adults, escape the everyday tyranny of screens and distractions and immerse themselves in 250 acres of God's gorgeous creation. Go to SenecaHills.org or call my good buddy, Executive Director Lyndon Fowler, to learn more about how Seneca Hills Bible Camp and Retreat Center can help you, your kids, or your business create unforgettable memories, meaningful friendships, and a deeper understanding of God's love. And he tells a story of when he, in high school, he built a hot rod from the ground up while he was in high school. And unfortunately, his grades suffered as a result. And when he graduated high school and decided to apply to Penn State University, because he lived in the Pittsburgh region, Western Pennsylvania region, he drove his hot rod out to Penn State to go apply. And they said, "Well, have you looked at your transcripts?" And of course they were not good. He did not get good grades. But he said, "But I built a hot rod from the ground up." However, Penn State did not see the value of that and denied allowing him to apply to the college. In an interesting turn of events, not necessarily totally intentional, he ended up at Grove City College and decided to try to apply there. And they said, "Man, we'd love to take you. We'd love to admit you." And he said, "But have you seen my transcripts?" And they said, "Yeah, but you built a car from the ground up." So Grove City College saw this outside the box thinker, this engineer, and the potential he had to make a difference, and were able to look beyond just the conventional metrics of grades to be willing to admit him. And of course, he went on to a very, very successful career and had a huge impact in the finance and investing industries. So he credits Grove City College, where he gained his foundation of an Austrian economic education. So Grove City College is one of the foremost economic schools, if you will, in the country, especially from an Austrian economic perspective. They actually have the most writings from Ludwig von Mises, who is one of the big contributors to Austrian economic thought. They have most of his writings actually exist at Grove City College, and they take that very seriously, and it impacts so many other things like their business school and their school of entrepreneurship. So Howard was impacted by that, and he says it laid a foundation for him to recognize Bitcoin. And so he sees this gift of Bitcoin as a way of saying thank you to Grove City College. And he, and I know the twins, all see this as there being potential for a greater relationship between Grove City College and Bitcoin. And it was very cool also to hear Tyler and Cameron share about their father, Howard, and their parents. Of course, they thanked Grove City College because I think, if I remember correctly, that was where Howard and his wife met. So they thanked Grove City College for their existence, that they were born of Howard and his wife. And they thanked them, of course, for accepting their father and be willing to look beyond some of the traditional, conventional metrics and to admit their father, and which led to an incredible career and influence. And they compared that to what it takes, really, to recognize the value of Bitcoin, to be able to look beyond the conventional metrics that we typically use to measure, because Bitcoin is very outside of the box. So the other thing that I noticed is, as I was interacting with folks at this dedication, I noticed that I don't know if everybody there truly understood exactly the significance of what was happening, because not everybody, again, thinks outside of the box or thinks unconventionally about finance and investing. And it seems, as we interacted with the economists who were there in attendance, they seemed to grasp and understand Bitcoin a little better, because they are so well acquainted with the problem that Bitcoin was designed to solve, a broken and corrupt monetary system. However, the business school and the school of entrepreneurship, I think, are still kind of coming to terms and trying to understand exactly the significance of Bitcoin. Of course, I'm sure they are grateful for the donation, especially since this donation, as of late, has increased dramatically. Not because Howard Winklevoss donated any more Bitcoin, but because the value of Bitcoin has skyrocketed since his initial investment. So I did the math. I don't know exactly how many Bitcoin was donated to Grove City College, but it was at that time worth around $4 million, which was in September, which was about when Bitcoin was about $60,000 per Bitcoin. And so doing the math, working backwards, I think there probably was approximately 65 Bitcoin that Howard Winklevoss donated to the school, worth about $4 million. Well, as of today, we're now over $6 million in value of that Bitcoin, which is a growth, if you will, of $2 million in less than 2 months of the Bitcoin that was donated to Grove City College. That's over a 50% return on the investment that Howard Winklevoss made in the college. That's mind-blowing. That's incredible. And there's no other asset that has this ability for exponential impact the way Bitcoin has. So very grateful to that. TBD Bookkeeping is who I use for my bookkeeping needs, and I'm thrilled to recommend them to you. As business owners with 3 kids themselves, Ryan and Danielle Hatch understand the value of time and the importance of work-life balance. TBD Bookkeeping can take over the day-to-day bookkeeping of your business so you can focus more on growth, operations, and customer relationships. I can speak from experience. If you're a business owner, you need a bookkeeper, and TBD Bookkeeping is simply the best in the business. Find their contact information in the show notes, and when you mention Redemptive Economics, you'll receive 10% off your first 3 months. Call TBD Bookkeeping today and learn more about the benefits I've experienced: more time, peace of mind, and the ability to plan for the future. Let me kind of give a little bit more perspective right now, or context to what's going on, because Bitcoin has been just rocketing up in value. Yesterday, let me see here. This is Thursday, November 21st. Yesterday, Bitcoin got to about almost 95,000. And last night, before I went to bed, I checked it and I just mentioned to my wife, hey, we're getting close to 95,000 in Bitcoin. Well, I wake up this morning and it's over 98,000. It's almost 99,000. So we're going to be hitting 100,000 very soon. And so it has been rocketing up ever since the elections and the new Trump administration was elected to office. And I'm sure that has something to do with it, because the Trump administration is very favorable toward Bitcoin. They even want to have a national strategic reserve of Bitcoin. And so Donald Trump, RFK, even Vivek Ramaswamy spoke at the Bitcoin conference where I attended this last summer. We got to hear them speak. And so the Trump administration is very positive about Bitcoin, which I'm sure is helping to pump that price. So the other thing is that Bitcoin is entering into the next bull cycle. There are these 4-year cycles that happen. And 2025 is kind of the next bull run cycle. So this has just begun. We've got a whole year-ish of bull cycle to go through. So the price is going to continue to go up. So I would say if you are interested in Bitcoin or learning more about Bitcoin, I would encourage you to start learning, start studying it now. It takes about 100 hours, if you will, of education to really get Bitcoin. So do that. Because this is why. I want to talk about the 5 different redemptive characteristics of Bitcoin that have absolutely, as I've studied it over the last 5 to 10 years, have been just a game changer for me with regards to my faith and economics from a biblical perspective. So the first thing is, and some of these, by the way, these are pretty significant statements I'm going to make that I don't have time to unpack fully. I'm hoping to do a longer-term Bitcoin series in the new year in 2025 to help unpack these things from a theological standpoint in more depth. So you're going to have to take my word for it, at least for now, or don't take my word for it. Just listen and then do your own research. I mean, that's kind of what we say in Bitcoin. Trust but verify, right? So that's what we talk about a lot. So the first redemptive aspect or characteristic of Bitcoin is that the technology itself, how it's designed, and looking at it from a biblical perspective, Bitcoin is the only monetary technology that abides by God's mandate for just weights and measures. So it is an honest money. Now, gold and silver, in terms of their elemental characteristics, are also honest in that sense. However, the problem is that you have sinful man who takes control of gold and silver, hoards it, and uses that to exploit the more vulnerable and exploited populations around the world. We see that all the time, and the dollar is no different. It's the same thing. It's been used in the same exploitive ways. Secondly, Bitcoin honors God's immutable laws of creation, including the law of sowing and reaping. I love the passage, God will not be mocked, but that a man reaps what he sows. However, with dishonest weights and measures or debauched money, that inflationary money like the dollar is, it seeks to circumvent God's immutable laws of creation. And by doing so, dishonors God and the way he designed everything to work. And we, in many cases, put ourselves in the place of God. Of course, we as Christians know that we do that just simply by turning away from God and becoming the lords of our own lives. Well, this is one of the ways that is demonstrated, how we utilize money. Redemptive Economics is completely listener-supported and dependent on the contributions of listeners. If you resonate with the message of Redemptive Economics and want to support the cause, there are 3 ways you can partner with us. The first is you can subscribe to the podcast for $5 a month and unlock all the amazing interviews and content without the interruption of advertisements. Secondly, you can donate to Redemptive Economics, either making a one-time gift or supporting monthly to help us offset the production costs and reach more people for the sake of the gospel. Lastly, if you're a business, you can choose to advertise with us. Right now, we're offering a limited number of spots for sponsorships for the first year at $150 per month or $1,800 for the year. I would be so grateful for your partnership. Check out the show notes for all the links that will lead to more information about how to support our mission to empower Christian entrepreneurs. So the third thing is that Bitcoin values, because of these other things, Bitcoin values the imago Dei, or the image of God that is present with every human being who's been created, basically. Because it is honest, it does not exploit, it does not steal, it is transparent, and completely honest in what it communicates in terms of value. And so we as people have value simply in being created in the image of God, but the work that we do, the energy we expend to produce value for others has value in and of itself. And money is a store of value or a metric to communicate the value of the work we've done. And so when money is messed with and it's dishonest or it is debased the way the dollar has been, it dishonors the value that God gave us in creating us in his image. So that's the next thing. The fourth thing is that Bitcoin separates money from the state. In Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 17, God warns Israel that their king is not to store up gold and silver for themselves, but instead to allow it to circulate throughout the economy. Of course, that's not what they did. They did actually hoard it, and that's what every single nation in all of history, on the entire globe, has done this. They have hoarded the gold and silver, created claim checks that represent that, inflated the supply of that, stealing value from others and exploiting the most vulnerable in their countries and in the world. And so God specifically says that the king should be separate from the money, that the money should be kept in circulation, basically, and that he should not hoard it himself. That's Deuteronomy 17, verse 17. And Bitcoin, by its design, does that very thing. It actually separates, by pure mathematics, the government from money. And then lastly, Bitcoin provides a settlement layer of value to the exploited and marginalized populations of the world. This is a huge deal. This is why third world countries around the world are adopting Bitcoin so much quicker than we are here in the United States, because we are the top dollar. We don't see value in Bitcoin because we have the dollar. It is the most valuable currency there is, and everybody all over the globe saves in the dollar for the most part as a result. But a lot of people around the world who are in these third world countries who have been exploited through monetary manipulation and economic corruption. Places like Africa, especially Central Africa, Nigeria is struggling greatly. Or down in South America, places like Brazil, Argentina, all over the globe, people are struggling and suffering. Lebanon, over in Lebanon in the Middle East, they've been struggling desperately. And so those are the folks who tend to see the value of Bitcoin right away. The transparency of it, the lack of an intermediary that's needed to transact. It gives all sorts of opportunities for folks to start their own businesses, open up lines of commerce they have been shut out of previously, and be able to earn a living and provide services for folks that wouldn't otherwise have been able to do that because they've been shut out of the financial system. So those are some of the 5, I think, really redemptive aspects of Bitcoin that I hope, as I say that, will at least motivate you to look into it further, to research it further. Okay, so my take on what Grove City College needs to do now that they have been donated this Bitcoin, which is rocketing up in value. I mean, this is just a huge opportunity. I think this is one of the greatest, most historic events in Western Pennsylvania, I think, in the Pittsburgh region, maybe in our country, because there's incredible potential for this tool, this redemptive tool in Bitcoin to be used for God's kingdom purposes. And with the background and foundation that Grove City has in their Austrian economics education and thought, coupled with the business school and the school of entrepreneurship, I think, man, this could transform business in incredible ways. And a couple just quick examples I'm thinking of off the top of my head are that, with Bitcoin, we are going to be moving from a debt-based financing model to an equity-based financing model. And this is huge. Truth at Work executive peer advisory groups are a life and business changing experience. Trust me, I've experienced it myself. It made such an impact on me that I stepped out to become a chapter president myself. At Truth at Work, we're dedicated to helping Christian business leaders who feel isolated and overwhelmed. Our community of like-minded peers are here to help leaders like you live out your faith in the marketplace and build your business on biblical principles. Christian business leaders are transformed through these peer advisory groups that apply biblical truth for living out our faith in all areas of life. If you'd like to learn more about Truth at Work, email me, Mike Hatch, at mhatch@truthatwork.org, or you can email my counterpart, Dave Hartman, at dhartman@truthatwork.org. And it's an equity-based model that is dependent on the inherent value and utility of Bitcoin itself, not the printing of extra dollars that tends to make all assets go up in value. Not that that's not contributing to Bitcoin's price going up or the exchange rate going up. I do think the number of dollars being created inflated the supply is definitely contributing. However, when you look at other assets like real estate, like a house, look, a house goes up in its price, not at all because it necessarily is getting more valuable. In fact, that's why if you own rental property, you get to depreciate actually the house, because the IRS is taking into consideration the fact that the house is getting worn out. It's getting used and abused. It needs upkeep, and it just simply deteriorates over time. But somehow, even though the asset is deteriorating, the price of these assets continue to go up. Why? It's purely because of the inflation of the currency supply, and more dollars are running after basically the same supply or a slower growing supply of homes, which makes their prices go up. Bitcoin is different. It's an asset that you can borrow against that has intrinsic utility and value to it, which changes the game, totally changes the game when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. The other thing I think is a really big deal is what we call in the Bitcoin world low time preference compared to high time preference. So low time preference is when you have a long-term perspective, a long-term horizon. You're thinking generationally, not short-term or just for today, but you're planning for the future. And Bitcoin allows us to plan for the future because of its inherent value and that value going up as people recognize it. It allows us to plan generationally as businesses, to plan for generational impact, as well as in the mission field. From government standpoint, also we start to have this low time preference where we're no longer stuck in the here and now, but we can start thinking long term because we have such a valuable asset in Bitcoin. I know some of you are probably thinking, man, this is way, I don't get this, which is why I would encourage you again, take time to research it and understand it better. This is a huge deal in our world, not just in the business or finance world, but for us as Christians and the church as well. Imagine an asset like this for the church. Huge, huge opportunities. So look, Grove City College, you guys need to first take time to really learn and understand and research Bitcoin and its inherent utility and redemptive value. Learn it. Take time to study it. And then I think as you come to a realization of its incredible value and utility, that if I were you, I would start creating courses. I would start creating tracks of courses that take students through understanding Bitcoin and how to utilize it effectively in a God-honoring way. So maybe you have different tracks, potentially in the School of Economics or the business school, or with regard to missions and business as missions. I think it will have incredible implications to that. And so maybe there are different tracks that students can take with regard to how they impact those different domains. So look, I'm really nobody, but I'm passionate about this. I am educated about it and would love to help. So if anybody from Grove City wants to reach out to me, call me. My number is 224-612-0277. I'm just going to put it out there. And I do have some follow-up meetings with some folks, some administration from Grove City College after that dedication. I'm looking forward to getting together with some of those folks to chat more about this and the huge opportunity that this is. It's an opportunity for Grove City College to become a cutting-edge world leader in Bitcoin education that so beautifully marries the business and entrepreneurial side as well. It is no coincidence that Howard Winklevoss, I have no idea where he is spiritually. I really don't know where his sons are spiritually either, but it is no coincidence that he came back to Grove City College and made this donation. I believe this is God, an act of God. I believe God moved this situation, moved Howard Winklevoss to make the donation and for Grove City College to be willing to accept it. Guys, do not miss this opportunity. It is huge. Let's get to work!